1800 hours Pakistan Standard Time. Assalamu alaikum. This is Radio Pakistan. The news read by Daman Zaman. The headlines. The foreign minister has urged the Indian government to realize the fact that its neighbors pose far less problems to it than their own domestic inadequacies, failures, and fascism. In occupied Kashmir, the All Parties Hurriyat Conference says the fake letter attributed to its chairman is a conspiracy of the Indian secret agencies aimed at maligning the Kashmir movement. Pakistan, while condemning the recent terrorist attacks on two mosques in Kabul, has reiterated its condemnation of terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. The Minister for Planning has called for drastic need to take actions at the societal and individual levels to control the spread of coronavirus pandemic. The Minister for Communications says the government is initiating different mega projects with public-private partnership to reduce the burden on the national exchequer. The Russian president says his country is developing the means to counter other countries' hypersonic weapons. And now the news in detail. The Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi has urged the Indian government to realize the fact that its neighbors pose far less problems to it than their own domestic inadequacies, failures, and fascism. In a tweet today, he said perhaps with necessary introspection, the current Indian government would be less focused on igniting border disputes with every neighbor, behaving like an expansionist nation. The foreign minister said New Delhi should be more focused on serving the poor, downtrodden, and minorities of the country. He said it would serve Modi government and neighborhood first policy. In occupied Kashmir, the All Parties Hurriyat Conference has said fake letter attributed to the All Parties Hurriyat Conference chairman Sayyid Ali Gilani is a conspiracy of the Indian secret agencies aimed at maligning the sacred Kashmir movement. The All Parties Hurriyat Conference spokesman, in a statement issued in Srinagar today, maintained that the letter being circulated on social media is fake. He said the All Parties Hurriyat Conference chairman is being held incommunicado and under house arrest for the last over 10 years. Meanwhile, the Jammu and Kashmir People's Movement has said India is using the COVID-19 pandemic as an excuse to suppress the indigenous struggle of the Kashmiris for their inalienable right to self-determination. The All Parties Hurriyat Conference leader and Jammu and Kashmir People's Movement chairman Mir Shahid Salim, in a statement in Jammu, said at a time when the world is busy in fighting COVID-19 pandemic, the Indian forces have let loose a reign of terror in the occupied territory. Pakistan has strongly condemned the recent terrorist attacks on Wazir Akbar Khan and Sher Shah Suri mosques in Kabul, resulting in the martyrdom of renowned religious scholars Dr. Ayaz Niazi and Maulvi Azizullah Mufle, besides other innocent worshippers. In a statement, the Foreign Office spokesperson Aisha Faruqi also prayed for the departed souls and extended sympathy and condolences to the bereaved families. The spokesperson reaffirmed solidarity with the people of Afghanistan and said Pakistan reiterates its condemnation of terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. The Minister for Planning, Asad Umar, has called for drastic need to take actions at societal as well as individual levels to control the spread of coronavirus pandemic. In a media briefing at the National Command and Operations Center in Islamabad today, he said the pace of spread of COVID-19 could increase if precautionary measures are not taken seriously. Asad Umar warned that total cases in the country have reached closer to 150,000, which are likely to increase twofold by the end of this month. He said wearing face masks is mandatory for slowing down the spread of disease, as some studies suggest that the pace of corona spread could decrease by 50% by covering the mouth alone. Asad Umar said administrative actions are also being taken to protect the people from the disease. He said shopkeepers, transporters, and individuals have been fined who were not following the standard operating procedures. He warned that actions against the violators will increase now. The minister said keeping lockdowns for long term is not feasible as the world has also realized it now. He said Prime Minister is always of the view that COVID-19 could be controlled by precautionary measures. Asad Umar said the federal government will assist the Punjab government in smart lockdowns to curtail the spread of disease. 6,825 new coronavirus cases have surfaced in the country during the last 24 hours, taking the total tally to 139,230. These include 52,601 in the Punjab, 51,518 in the Sindh province, 17,450 in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, 8,028 in Balochistan, 7,934 in the Islamabad Capital Territory, 1,095 in Gilgit-Baltistan, and 604 in Azad Kashmir. The death toll from the virus stands at 2,632, with 81 new deaths reported during the last 24 hours. 51,735 patients have so far recovered from the infection. This is Radio Pakistan. The advisor on finance and revenue, Dr. Abdul Hafiz Sheikh, has emphasized on the potential of Islamic finance to help the developing countries cope with the global financial challenges. Addressing an international conference on Islamic economics and finance in Istanbul through video link, he said Islamic banking is growing at a fast pace in Pakistan. He said global Islamic finance industry is worth $2.4 trillion and there are 1,400 Islamic finance institutions in 60 countries. The Minister for Communications, Murad Said, says the government has converted the ruined institution into self-sustainable through transparency, better service delivery, and introducing the latest technology. Addressing a news conference in Islamabad today, he said we are also initiating mega projects in the country's history with public and private partnership to reduce the burden on the national exchequer. He said the government has given the biggest relief package to the nation in the hour of trial. The minister said China-Pakistan Economic Corridor is a great precedent of Pakistan-China friendship and the work has already been started on the western route of the corridor. He said CPAC is successfully heading towards its destination and new projects are also being launched under the umbrella of China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. The spray operations are continuing across the country to control and eliminate locusts. According to the spokesperson of the National Disaster Management Authority, 8,320 hectares of land was sprayed during the last 24 hours. He said over 604,000 hectares of area has so far been sprayed across the country. The crop munching bug exists in 44 districts of the country, including 29 districts in Balochistan, 9 in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, 5 in Sindh, and 1 in the Punjab. The Punjab budget for the next fiscal year 2020-2021 will be presented tomorrow. The Provincial Finance Minister Hashim Jawan Bakht will present the budget in the session of the Provincial Assembly being held at a local hotel in Lahore at 2 p.m. Meanwhile, the spokesperson of the Finance Department in a statement has said for the first time the budget proposals have been prepared with the consultation of all the stakeholders. The Russian President Vladimir Putin has said his country is developing the means to counter other countries' hypersonic weapons. According to the Russian media, Vladimir Putin said it is very likely that we will have means to combat hypersonic weapons. Putin said we are not just modernizing our traditional military strength, we are also developing new systems, and in this sense we can confidently say that we are the number one in the world today. In the United States, police chief of Atlanta, Erika Shields, has resigned after the fatal shooting of an African American, Rayshard Brooks, who had fallen asleep in his car at a drive-through restaurant. Soon after, protesters in Atlanta took to the streets calling for action following Brooks' death. Protesters shut down a major highway in Atlanta and burned down a Wendy's restaurant where a black man was shot dead by the police as he tried to escape arrest. The World Blood Donors Day is being observed today to raise awareness about significance of blood donation and to thank the donors for their gift of life. The World Donors Day celebrations are also a reminder that blood transfusion is the single most important life-saving intervention carried out every day in healthcare settings all across the world. And finally, the weather. Mainly very hot and dry weather is likely to prevail in most parts of the country during the next 24 hours. However, rain with thunderstorm is expected in Gilgit-Baltistan and Kashmir. And that is the end of this news bulletin. For more news and analyses, log on to our website radio.gov.pk, and you can also watch the live video streaming of our bulletins on the link facebook.com/Radio Pakistan News Official.